Well, Alpine, they sure did the season. They did the zoomy round in circles, really, didn't they? It's a very disappointing season for the French manufacturer, as they finished on 53 fewer points than last season and 2 positions lower in 6th. So let's take a look back at Alpine's less than stellar Formula 1 season. Firstly, let's just look at what's gone well. What's been the best parts of Alpine's season? What's really been the good stuff they've done? Well, firstly, you have Esteban Ocon's impressive podium for Alpine at Monaco. This was at the midpoint of the season where Alpine at some races had the 5th fastest car before McLaren came on the scene kind of near the midway point of the season. So as Monaco is one of the kind of great equaliser circuits in terms of machinery and driver talent, with its tight twisty layout which tests drivers' bravery and awareness of their own limits. Ocon proved this in the qualifying session when he finished 4th and only 0.188 seconds slower than Max Verstappen's P1 time, and then only 0.082 seconds off of Charles Leclerc in 3rd position. That isn't where Ocon started though, as Charles Leclerc was given a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Lando Norris, which is another of Monaco's characteristics. Therefore, you'd expect the race to be an easier one for Esteban, thanks to the overtaking opportunities at Monaco being, well, rather limited. But he did have to deal with Ferrari's Carlos Sainz. But not for long, as the Ferrari driver misjudged his braking into the Nouvelle chicane and clipped the Alpine with his front wing, which ended his own podium chances on lap 11. He then also had to put up with the rain that started on lap 45, but even with all these tests for Esteban, he was able to hold on to his podium for the first for the team since Fernando Alonso in 2021 in Qatar. The next big highlight, the good thing from Alpine's season, was their podium for Gasly in the Netherlands, which was, well, largely unexpected. Both cars in qualifying trim were just, well, uncompetitive, as Ocon only set a time good enough for 17th position, and well, he exited in Q1, which for a team like Alpine with their expectations is really not desirable to be going out in Q1. Then Pierre Gasly, well, himself was, well, less than spectacular really, as he was 0.061 off of 10th positioned Logan Sargent as he finished Q2 in 12th position. Not a position you'd expect a podium challenger to be starting in, well, unless you're Max Verstappen. It's a pretty crazy race though, to be fair, with most of the drivers being affected with rain throughout. Gasly originally helped earlier on in the race as he moved his way up to 3rd position, but before being of course overtaken by Max Verstappen. It then went in the other direction for poor Pierre Gasly, as he was given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which dropped him down to 5th position on lap 47. The French driver then moved back up to 4th when he went around the outside at Sainz at turn 1, putting him back in prime position for a podium spot. The rain then got bad again, which caused Perez to thump the pit lane wall as he came in for extreme wets, before the race was red flagged with just 5 laps to go in it. As a result of his thump into the wall, Perez was given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Gasly was able to stay within those 5 seconds for the remaining 5 laps of the race, which gave the Alpine their 2nd podium of the season. Well, now let's look at the not so great parts of Alpine's season, shall we? The team saw both cars not finish a race 3 times this season, with the failures coming in Austria, Britain and Hungary, with Britain and Hungary being 2 successive races in a row where they didn't score points thanks to both cars not finishing. The first obviously came in Australia when both cars collided on the exit of turn 2 on the restart to that race, with them both running competitively in the top 10. That was probably an extremely gutting DNF for the team to deal with. In Britain, Alpine also lost Ocon on lap 10 as he sustained a hydraulic issue with the A523, which then sent him straight early on to the motorhome. And then in the late stages of that race, Gasly retired with right rear damage after contact with Lance Stroll, with him fighting for the final points position in that race when they made contact at Vale. Finally, in Hungary, it was a bit of a domino effect, which I would say kind of was wrong place, wrong time for both drivers, as Joe went into the back of Ricciardo, who then hit Ocon, who then tangled his tyres with Gasly, sending, well, both of them out the race at turn 1. The team has also been massively disorganised behind the scenes as well. This started with ex-Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi's public meltdown at the team, as he expected a lot more from them at this point in the season. He said the team were not worthy of resources, were amateurish, and then when describing their Baku and Bahrain performances, he said, "The right to make mistakes, it is a basic principle. Mistakes are what we learn from. However, when you make the same mistakes twice, it means you haven't learned and that you aren't taking responsibility, and that is not acceptable. But this unsurprisingly led to some management changes at Alpine. Firstly, before the Hungary race weekend, Laurent Rossi was dropped as Alpine CEO for Philipp Krief. As the team headed to Spa, team principal Otmar Satner was also fired from his role after only 18 months in that position, and then Alain Permain was dropped from his role as sporting director after 34 years in the team. Bruno Famin came into the team on an interim basis to take over the team principal role, but at the moment still remains there to this current day. These changes within Alpine really doesn't help them improve and move up the field, as the team has been a continuous evolution of itself for the past 2 to 3 years now, which gives it really no structure to improve from. In conclusion, Alpine, for their standards, have had a pretty terrible season. Yet again, they've found themselves in the purgatory of midfield racing, which I'd say they've really been stuck in now since 2017. With that being said though, they do have a strong driver lineup, with only 4 points separating Gasly and Ocon in the championship, with Gasly leading the way in 11th position. The thing is, it's now a desperate time for the team to see signs of improvement, with them now being in sport nearly 8 years, and with new investment puts them under even more pressure to do something noteworthy. Plus, teams like Williams do seem to be closing the gap pace-wise, with them at some points and certain circuits remarkably quicker. So if Logan Sargent finds some pace this season, next year Alpine could be in some trouble, considering Albon was only 31 points behind Ocon in the championship. So going into next year, the message is, Alpine, you must perform. I hope you enjoyed me complaining about Alpine for, the past 6 minutes now. Now it's your turn to get involved. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you tap that like button and, make sure you subscribe as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.